welcome to Mortgage Meet, marketing, education, activities, and tips for mortgage loan originators. Kicking off 2025 with my good friend Samantha STeen, the selling machine.
Love it. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here.
Well, you know what? Before we get into the show and talk about the exciting topic that you have planned for us,
Yes.
we have a few questions.
Okay.
Mortgage Meet, as much as we love the mortgage industry, we love steaks and we love to eat. Favorite steakhouse?
Favorite steakhouse sadly just closed. It was called, I know. It was called Rembrandt's in Placentia, and like the best steak with a nice chimichurri sauce. Mwah, chef's kiss.
Chimmy bang bang?
Chimmy bang bang sauce. We love to go there all the time. Closed down. So I would say my current is like teppanyaki. Like it's called bari bari. So, you know, where they're kind of the Benihana style. Okay. They throw the garlic in there. Yeah, chef's kiss. But yeah.
Nice. So at Rembrandt's, what was the steak you would get?
New York steak, medium with some chimichurri sauce.
There you go.
And yeah, we're a little bit upset about it still.
Well, anybody out there, if you want to open up a great steakhouse in Placentia, serve chimichurri sauce. There's a need. At least one person will bring
one family. I got a crew. Yeah, we got a crew. We'll do it.
What kind of sides did you like to get there?
I'm like kind of a baked potato girl. Yeah. Nice. So pretty sour cream and chives. What about you? I mean, nothing too fancy.
Well, you know, anyone who's seen the show, I talk about almost the same thing. Usually it's Dab's Steakhouse, which is my house.
Oh, yeah.
Grilled ribeye. You know, my father and I had Sunday dinners all the time.
Yes.
Special things for us. And we would just make baked potatoes with sour cream, you know, of course, salt, pepper, the green onions.
Yeah, gotta have the extra green onion. Don't come at me with just a few sprinkles.
So, well, that's always the most important thing is food in my life. Food does bring us together, which, you know, interestingly enough, food is another way that you could probably make some new connections, right?
That's true.
So today's episode is called Grilling New Connections, and we're talking about unconventional referral sources. So Samantha and I were chatting the other day about, hey, look, we're starting a new year. Everyone's looking to expand their business. Last year wasn't necessarily the easiest year in the mortgage industry. So, you know, what could we learn from each other and hopefully have a more successful year? Yeah. So how did you come about these topics?
You know, I talk to loan officers every day. I'm really focused in my role on how can I help my customers do more business. And so in talking to loan officers every day, you start to also see some trends and see sometimes low-hanging fruit of, okay, everybody's kind of focused here, but nobody's really paying attention over here. Yeah. So it gives me a great opportunity, my entire team, to really look at, hey, how can we bring some different ideas and solutions so that, you know, everyone's fishing in the same pond? How can we help them over here with some clearer waters? So
one thing I forgot to mention, Samantha STeen is with MGIC.
Yes,
if you don't see her cup over there.
It's my water cup.
We got cool cups today. We got the Mortgage Meet cup, the MGIC cup. So she handles mortgage insurance.
Yes.
If you have any questions about mortgage insurance, also just education. One of the reasons I invited her here today, MGIC has a good platform of learning tools for loan officers to learn more about how to do income. What is MI? A lot of different questions. So I probably should have started with that, but that's okay.
Yeah. MI, the greatest low down payment tool ever invented. Come on. We're talking about meat here.
Yes.
Meat and MI.
There's a new M in meat. It's MI.
Yes.
Okay. So we were talking about, now you guys run some sort of a test, right? Or a survey that you were sharing.
Yeah. So we do a loan officer survey. We've done it the last several years. We got about 1,000 respondents, maybe a little bit more than that. And we just asked them a series of questions, and it's very enlightening. And there was a whole section on referral sources. And so when you and I were started talking, it's like, okay, this kind of rings true to what I see out in the field and what you and I have talked about. The statistics really ring true to what we see. And I thought, yeah, it's a great opportunity for us to highlight some things that people aren't thinking about. And the stats show it. So
sounds good. So I guess, you know, what do the stats tell us has been the most common or number one referral source?
For
loan originators.
Yes, for loan originators, top two, past clients at 84%, and then real estate agents, 84%. So top two, they were actually tied in our survey. And I think common to what we hear as we talk to loan officers every day as well.
And you know, the thing too is that I know there's real estate agents that also follow Mortgage Meet. Out of the 6 followers, I think 3 are realtors. No, but
Welcome.
yeah. But here's the thing: is a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today is ways for us to all work together, right?
Yes.
How do LOs work with realtors? How do realtors grow their base that might refer back? So many of these referral sources aren't just for a loan officer. They could be for a real estate agent as well to help expand.
100% networking, getting your name out there, and everybody is so important in the transaction.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way if a loan officer is expanding or a realtor, they're bringing in their partners, which is great.
Sounds good. So when we started talking about unconventional sources, I had the luxury of being involved with a sales coach years ago, who my company, 26 years ago, it was like Sandler Sales, I believe. They're still around, but they did an event one day where they brought in all these balloons. We actually duplicated. You may have been at the event for camp a couple of years ago.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so what we did is we wrote almost like little fortune cookies and rolled them up and put them into every one of the balloons. And nobody knew what it was at first, right? It was really cool. There was just balloons down the aisles of the conference. We told them, grab a balloon and pop it. And inside each one was a different potential source. And I would encourage people, if you want to get your team together, take some of the topics we talk about today and do the balloons. Yeah. It's crazy. You pop that balloon, it gets everyone, excited or whatever, maybe scared. But
they're anticipating for sure. They're anticipating that.
What's going to happen when you pop this balloon? And the idea is that if I'm a loan officer and I have a group of realtors that have been phenomenal referral partners, that is one of my balloons, and that's awesome. But if I'm going to grow my sphere, maybe I need another balloon. Yeah. And so we want to talk today about what some of those other balloons could be. Yeah. So what are some thoughts?
Yeah. There are a lot. So when you think about, it's funny because we were just talking about our kids right before we hopped on here.
Shout out, always talk about our kids.
Always talk about the kids.
Princess Daisy, love you, kiddo. By the way, it's her birthday today.
Quick
shout out. Happy birthday, Daisy.
And it's interesting. My youngest daughter went through high school sports. She was a cheerleader, and at the time there was a lot of pressures for like the Sports Boosters Club, and if your kid's in sports, if they're a football player, whatever they were, the baseball team, there's some pressure on your kid to get these sponsorship dollars for the boosters, right? Yeah. And so if you could get a business or somebody to sponsor, it was a big deal. So if you were like, it was like $250. I mean, she's 26 now, so inflation, I don't know. But it was like $250. And somebody would have their banner, their business banner up at the football games. Yeah. And I can tell you the loyalty from us parents, because it was a lot of pressure on your kid. It's a lot of money to do these, sports activities. And so we would reward those businesses. Sure. We would go to those restaurants. There was a dentist. I'll never forget a dentist. Everyone was like, we go to this doctor. And so I thought, gosh, something so simple as that, but building trust. People do business with people they like, know, and trust. Yeah. Just in your local community, things that don't cost a lot of money, but can really create some loyalty and get your name out there. I think it's a great idea.
Well, get to that point, there's Jeffrey Gitomer, the author that I love. He has
I love Gitomer.
Yeah, I have a quote. We'll get you on here one day, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
But there's a quote in one of his books. It says that people, all things being equal, people would rather work with people that they like and trust. Yeah. Right? Things not being so equal, meaning we get shopped to death for rates as a loan originator, right? Maybe your rate isn't even the lowest, but it's competitive. They'll still work with you if they like you and trust you. I think that's the win, right? Yeah. Because if you can take off, there's a lot of concerns about, AI is going to take your jobs or the internet's going to do this. I'll tell you what, in my line of work, I get to talk to a lot of loan originators, and the number one source that I see for most of them is still people working with people. Yeah. And I think that that's where you can win. If you just go online, it's just about price. It's a tough battle, right? Or you're just always undercutting yourself. But to develop relationships, another fun one that we're talking about that's not, I don't think, a conventional thought of getting business is going bowling. So years ago, I was in the title insurance business, and one of the realtors I worked with had set up a realtor bowling event. And imagine this, it doesn't have to be realtors, this happened to be, but what if you just joined a local bowling event? Or what do they call it?
League.
Bowling league, sorry. I bet I know. Unprofessional. My dad was pretty good at it. That's what trophies. But so you think about it, and you meet once a week, and they go in there, and there's 10 different teams or whatever, and each week you're bowling in a lane against one of these other teams. Yep. we have an opportunity to meet four, I think it was four, maybe five people on each team, and you get to spend a little time with them.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, great. So imagine you go in there and you just said, okay, you know what I'll do? I'm the local realtor, and hey, Keith Realty is going to buy a pitcher of beer for everybody to get started. Big deal. You spend $100
Right.
to get everyone a pitcher of beer. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to be like, hey,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
By the time you've bowled with everybody there, you just expanded your reach to probably another, 4 times 40, 50 people.
Yeah, that's a great
that
idea.
got to know and like you. So
Yeah.
again, think of things that are maybe a little bit different. People love their kids. People love their pets. People
Pets is a big
love their
one, too.
neighbors,
Yes.
right? So what can you do to be involved in something like that? I have a gentleman I worked with for years that he was very involved with his schools, his kids' sports.
Yeah.
Got a tremendous amount of business.
Yep.
So I think that's huge. One of the other ones that we've talked about before is different kinds of attorneys, right?
Yeah. So I recently, this last year in 24, came across a strategy. There's a divorce lending association. I didn't even know that was a thing, but it's a thing. Because
guys, divorce is great. People always hate it when I say that, but it could be great because you could get 2 loans.
Okay, no. Okay, I'm gonna flip that. I'm gonna say divorce is terrible, but if you can help people when they're in a very difficult time in their lives, that is great. So I think that's
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I know that's what Keith meant. Of course, that's what he meant. But I'm married 30 years. Most of my friends are married, and we had some close friends that recently, after 27 years, unfortunately had a party of the ways. I won't get into that, but seeing
we want the tea.
We want the tea. I know. We should do mortgage tea. Yeah, tea time. Seeing one of my very close girlfriends finding herself in a position to look and go, okay, are we selling the house? She's still got some young kids. What do we do? What's the interest rate? What's the payment? Should I pull from our retirement? Do I buy him out? All of these really challenging questions when you're dealing with a heartbreak, it can be overwhelming.
Sure.
So to have somebody come alongside that can provide some professional information, I want to just, even before we get to the attorney, talk to my friend, because she happens to be close friends with 5 other people. And I'll tell you, anybody that's coming to her rescue during that, you're automatically getting some goodwill with everybody else in that circle. Sure. So just coming alongside to provide some information and to be there during a difficult time is huge. Then you look at the divorce attorney. So, you've got mediators. There's a whole list of different, we think of divorce attorneys. They actually like to be called family law professionals. So something else I knew. So we're not going to say divorce attorney, family law professionals. They actually need help, because just because something is legal doesn't mean you can do it in lending, right? So when they're trying to come up with, how are we going to settle this? They might come up with an idea that just doesn't work. Now we've got one income, not two. Can somebody refinance? Does it make sense? So having a mortgage professional involved in that negotiation process is a really big deal. So you have an opportunity to not only work with divorce family law professionals, but also think of the goodwill of coming alongside people during a most difficult time. And the Divorce Lending Association, for you loan officers out there, you actually can become certified to provide continuing education to family law professionals. So talk about building some trust and credibility. There's even some opportunity to earn fee income. So you can get paid for your advice or being a witness. So there's some way to supplement your income in a different way.
Ka-ching nugget.
Well, Grill, that just sizzled.
That just sizzled. What they can't see is that we actually have our camera up on a barbecue.
On a barbecue, it
griddle
is.
that
we should take a picture and post it on
We'll post that later. Speaking of the sizzle. But what's funny is I still have a friend who's a real estate attorney that I work with, pretty frequently, or at least 5 questions I ask him, and he's asked me questions. And I think when you can develop that kind of relationship too, these aren't just, I'm going after this to get business. Right. Can I be a resource to this attorney when they have a question that I might know an answer to, and then can I call upon them? Right. And that's really what it means to me when you think of a professional network. Yes. It's not a one-sided thing. It's not some marketing thing. I'm just going to pay this money. I'm going to get something back. It's just like we develop these relationships with our peers that are, let's say if you're a loan officer and they're realtors, and the title reps that you work with
Yeah.
and escrow companies, but think of these other folks. How can you help them?
Right.
And to your point, like if you
Yes.
can help their continuing education, if you can help them understand what you do
Right.
to better serve, and then the
Right.
reciprocity.
I will say too, just to note, divorce doesn't equal a loan, right? So you
Correct.
could be spending some time giving some advice, but that's why I pointed to, you don't know who they're friends with, who's their
Correct.
circle. So you might not necessarily get a loan just because somebody's going through a divorce, but what business, how are you expanding your sphere of influence,
Mhm.
and then building that trust and credibility. So that's used, and then possibly fee income. So
Sounds good.
yeah.
So one of the things that I was thinking about is how would you locate a family law attorney? And I found out how you can do it.
Okay.
All you do is go on Instagram and look for a family law attorney, and then don't do anything else. Because with
And then
technology
start
nowadays,
blowing up.
they'll just start popping right into your space. It's really a great tool. That'll work for pretty much any one of the people
Yeah.
we're looking at. So yeah, just do a Google search.
Yeah.
Google will send them right to you.
Yeah. Well, and we also talk about financial planners. There's actually financial planners that specialize with divorce.
Mhm.
So imagine the help that they need on the assets, and so like I said, under family law professionals, there's a few different headings, including financial planners. So,
which, by the way, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, financial planners are a great resource. They know people's financials. They know, hey, you know what? You either have more money, maybe you could put it in an investment property, or why don't you own a home? You're not getting a tax break.
Yep.
So again, don't think of it just at tax time. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's tax time, I'm going to call CPAs today. Probably not the time to call them.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably
Right.
when they're going to be overwhelmed.
Yes.
But think about, just after the tax crunch, just after the main tax season.
Right.
And try to, become a resource for them.
Right.
They
Well,
may
and
have
think
questions.
about financial planners are motivated. They don't like when somebody pays all cash for real estate or
Mhm.
makes a large down payment, because they're losing money. They get rewarded on, the more assets, the higher they're going to make themselves. Sure. So they're highly motivated for somebody not to pay all cash for real estate or make a large down payment. So just even your education there on, does it make sense for somebody to get a loan? How much should they put down? What's the return on investment? Are they going to have?
That's the point. I was biting my tongue over here. So if you think about it, let's say you take $1 million property for easy math, which is probably a lot of properties in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
On average, we've seen 5% growth in real estate since my entire life, I think, in California. Sure, there's going to be, first of all, I don't verify anything here on Mortgage Street. We say what we think, and you can do your own homework. We don't guarantee any of the data.
Yeah, there's a legal disclaimer.
There's a legal
that's going
disclaimer.
to ticker across this.
However, historically, it's been about 5% a year. So if you had $1 million and you bought a piece of real estate with 10% down, so you put in $100,000 and you made 5% on that $1 million asset you're controlling every year, well, you're making $50,000 a year, right? If you have a financial planners, you can chime in later. I don't know what their yields are, but let's say their yields were also just 5%. Why would you take all of your $1 million, if you have it,
Right.
deplete your retirement and savings and other assets just to control $1 million asset?
Right.
So again, not giving any financial advice nor legal advice, but I think it's a discussion you should have, because it seems like it would be better to have more assets earning at the similar rate.
Right.
And I'm sure there's folks that will tell us they can get a better than 5% rate on their financial assets.
Right.
If properly.
Well, and
invested.
I think that's the beauty, is we're talking about helping somebody with the largest financial decision of their life, right?
Correct.
Their home, their largest asset. And if you can involve multiple professionals to put somebody in the best spot possible, that's huge.
Sure.
So financial planners are benefiting from you're giving advice on the mortgage side. It's interesting because financial planners also have to have continuing education. And I did a little research and looked at the classes that there's a few. One of the largest financial planner associations who provides the most continuing ed. It's like 246 classes. Only 4 deal with mortgages. Can you guess what topic those 4 classes are on? Putting you on the spot here. Reverse mortgages.
Oh.
So the only out of
all
200,
four
all
about
4
reverse
are on
mortgages?
reverse mortgages. So when you think about from an education standpoint, really what a loan officer and a realtor has to bring to the table to help a financial planner, it's a great yin and yang. I also love a story. I had a coworker up in Northern California years and years ago. He had a best friend who's a financial planner in a building with 2 mortgage companies.
Mhm.
He stopped by his office and he said, "Hey, do you ever talk to so-and-so?" And he goes, "I have never talked to one loan officer." And they're in the same building. So also, we kind of talk about everybody's casting their pole over here. If you want to fish in less muddy waters, expand your network, but also you're bringing along your realtor into that as well. So as you said, you're networking everybody, but it's a great way to expand. And you don't have, financial planners are typically not working with probably a loan officer. So there's some loyalty there.
Till after this episode.
Till after this episode, yeah. But going back to the survey, because I wanted to look and see what were the stats on what people said. So financial planner, only 21% of loan officers said that they're working with financial planners, which kind of rings true. Yeah. By the way, the family law professionals, only 13%. So
there you go.
Some opportunity there.
Good opportunities.
Yeah.
The other ones for both realtors and LOs would be involved in the probate side, right?
Absolutely.
So do they need to sell the property? Are they going to maybe be able to refinance it for one of the other siblings that maybe on title or not on title, but in the trust? Yeah. So what are some other options of places to cast?
Places to cast. I'd say another overlooked opportunity is HR. Okay. So looking at companies, so the big thing now, if you go on LinkedIn or you go on Google and you just say companies in Rancho Cucamonga, it's interesting. If you look at anybody who has job postings, the new term is wellness, wellness benefits, right? That's part of their package and their job offering, and it's big for the younger generations on what's the wellness offering. And you'll see things like, health savings accounts. So it's not just health insurance, which I think our generation maybe goes more to
I get medical and dental?
Yeah. Medical, dental.
Cool, I'm in.
Is there a 401k? Cool. Great. Yeah. But it's health savings accounts. It's now a lot of different type of education. And so a lot of these larger companies have wellness managers as part of their HR team. So when you look at what is a wellness manager, well, they're looking for what they call point solutions to bring to their benefits, right? What can we offer? And a lot of times you're going to see that they don't have financial wellness as part of that. So if you can come as a realtor, as a loan officer, come in and offer education to the employees, that's going to be a huge deal on getting you in and access to a huge group of gainfully employed borrowers, right? Yeah. Really important gainfully employed borrowers. But now think of the remote environment too. You have a potential of reaching people outside of your immediate footprint because of remote working. Sure. So what you have an opportunity to do is you go to the wellness manager and you offer to provide education. That's the key. And I think you and I talked about that. Like, don't go in and say, hey, $500 off closing cost if your employees come with me. And why do we think the reason why the employer wouldn't want to do that?
Well,
liability.
They probably don't want to get sued that they got paid to refer you. Now, it's funny because to me, it reminds me of working with VA Rep, shout out, Veteran Association of Real Estate Professionals, working with them for years in the nonprofit side with financial literacy for veterans. And it is missing in all segments, not just for veterans. We definitely need to support our veterans, but I'll tell you what, my daughter just graduated. Well, she just graduated Baylor University, and now she's in a master's program. Second shout out for her. But when she graduated high school just a few years ago, they didn't have a financial literacy course. They don't have that. And, we'll see how, education changes. But I think that if you can offer that to employers, think about it this way. If I always joke with leading sales teams, you get a sales guy, you're like, hey, go buy a new car. Right? Why'd you buy a new car? I have more debt, work harder to pay your bills. Right? And I was always just kind of something back in my head.
Where are you going? I thought because you wanted to see the sales one. Okay.
No, because here's the thing. If they, if people invest in some things that they want, they're going to work harder to maintain them. If somebody owns a home, they're less likely to just quit their job.
Right.
So it is a big kind of incentive, I would say, if you're an employer, if your employees are homeowners, I think you have a better chance at less turnover and things like that. And turnover costs money, training, etc. So I know a gentleman who was working with a local hospital, and he was able to do trainings with them. I don't know, they did them quarterly or something. Yeah. Just explaining the potential benefits of homeownership. Homeownership may not be for everybody. We're not saying that. Right. We see a lot of people acquire wealth through it, but if somebody moves a lot and they're buying and selling, maybe it's not for them. Again, not saying it has to be, just another option. So reach out to HR, offer financial literacy, financial training,
education, home ownership education. That really is the offering. That's kind of the buzzword because that would be the point solution that they're looking for. They're not looking for you to come and say free appraisal.
Yeah.
They're looking for you to come in and say, this is a benefit to our employees to provide this education. So
yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, because I think a lot of people have thought over the years, well, I'm going to give you something to get business,
right?
Which we know, like respite and other things, probably not something you do, shouldn't be doing nowadays. And that's not necessarily, that might be an old mindset of this is the carrot that's going to get me in there, when really the carrot is satisfying this wellness benefit or helping them just be better educated.
Well, and when you think of, again, talk about clear waters, you're the only one providing this education, building trust. And again, those people likely have family members or friends. And when somebody's looking to do something, oh, hey, yeah, oh my gosh, I just went to this class, or here's somebody that we use. So you're building credibility, and it's such a great way to expand your sphere. And then when you're providing that education, let's say you're doing it in person, you can invite your other, part of your strategic network in front of those employees, right? Bring the realtor in. Maybe you bring in a home inspector because you're talking about home inspections that week. I mean, there's a great opportunity to bring in your other network and help them shine. So everybody wins.
Everybody wins when we work together.
Yes.
So what else was on the list? What was another great source?
Are you curious about the stat, though? I wanted to share the stat on HR. So,
oh, yes. What is the stat on HR? Hang on. I'm really curious. What is the stat on HR?
On HR, you know what? 1%. So only 1% of our responders actually, deploy that type of strategy. So again, we talk about kind of fishing in clear waters. Yeah. 1%. So, you got nowhere to go but up, right?
Yeah. That's the thing too, is that what we're trying to share today is just some ideas. And some of this, you might have said, you know what? I always thought of that. I always thought of talking to other people. Hey, start the year out. Make a little checklist for yourself. I'm going to talk to this many people. I'm going to build this sphere. And then just go after it.
Right. Absolutely.
If you have a plan, it's better than no plan.
It is better than no plan. Yeah. You miss 100% of the targets you don't aim for. What is it?
Or the nets or the shots.
Yeah.
I think it was a Gretzky thing, the shots you don't take.
Yeah, the shots you don't take. Yeah. Well, it's something to do about, like, if you don't have a target, then, I mean,
of course, on New Year's, if you don't go out drinking, you miss 100% of the shots, might be a good thing.
Yeah, that might be a good thing. That's true. Yeah.
So, we talked a little bit about using Google indirectly to find some of these sources. And it's funny because I was, looking for a car or something, and then all of a sudden you get all the car ads.
Yes.
Right? So.
Not funny how that works. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you just talk about it sometimes. Right. It seems like it shows up. One of the things I was thinking about too was just a little bit on technology is also, Facebook's been around a long time, and I felt like I'm too old for Facebook, probably too old for it, period, because I'm 52. But I see and hear from people getting involved in like some of these like chat groups or neighbor and network type stuff. I think there's one that I have too that's actually called I think it's called the Neighborhood app. Yeah. Where these are people that live around you, and if you can just share things with them, and you see people selling things locally and whatnot, but creating another group for local people. I know a gal that was involved with VA Rep, and she would help with relocating veterans. So they were not active military, I should say. So they're going to move from here to another state. Right. Well, they would go on like a local group for Rancho Cucamonga or for Phoenix, Arizona, and start to just ask questions about the neighborhood and being involved in things like that. And again, offering your advice, offering your knowledge without an expectation, and then every once in a while you will gain from that. So.
It just makes me laugh. We relocated. This was before Facebook was even a thing, and I went
possible?
I know it sounds so wild. But it makes me feel old every time I say it. But so I went to check out an area, and I went to the local library, and I went to the local sheriff because I wanted to hear like what's the crime and what's kind of the Google was around, but it just wasn't as prevalent of like you just didn't think about it. But to have these local groups, I know there's one in the city that we live in, and you'll see people post like, hey, has anybody seen this? Or sometimes it's a lost dog, and sometimes it's I need a plumber. I mean, it's just it's a variety. And it's kind of nice because you feel like you're in the know. It makes like kind of a safety thing, I think, as well.
Well, the nice part about that is talking about your local sheriff department or firefighters, et cetera. By the way, that's another part of your sphere in your neighborhood. Yes. Support things that are going on. Yes. If your local chamber of commerce has an event, show up, get involved. Yep. We talked briefly about VA Rep. Find a local chapter, NAR Rep.
By the way, a lot of HR reps go to the Chamber of Commerce.
There you go.
Bonus, double whammy.
Well, I think too, because they want to expand,
Yeah.
employment in the area.
Extra green onion.
Extra green onions on the potato. So, anything else you think of from technology we've seen? Obviously, we see LinkedIn for businesses and whatnot. Do you have any?
Yeah, I think even LinkedIn, if you were looking for HR groups, LinkedIn posts jobs, people that are looking for jobs. And what you'll see is salary ranges on there.
Yeah.
Company websites, you can get an overview. What kind of business is this? And there's a lot of vetting that you can do just quickly on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But Google put, top 10 employers in whatever city and see what pops up. And then I always like to go and see what are their job postings. So there's a lot of intel that you can do.
I think Glassdoor is one of the too that will put information about companies, what they're hiring for.
Yeah.
And again, reach out to them.
Yeah.
What's the
you got nowhere to go, but nowhere to go but up. And it's not a huge time commitment too. So that's
one of the things I've always saw with like professional networks.
Yeah.
If we have our local group of real estate agents that we're working with, they're busy, right? So, and there's a lot of people fighting for the same referral source. Mm-hmm. So if we're all going after the same referral source and we're there all the time, it takes a lot of your time, right? It might be a weekly commitment. I need to talk to, 10 realtors a week, whatever your numbers are. Yeah. Where with professional networks, it could be like once a month.
Right.
It could be like, hey, once a month, you got time for a coffee? No, great, cool. Just want to let you know I'm here.
Right.
Hey, any questions that you have about my industry that I could share? And just have that dialogue and be available to answer a question when they have it. That's huge. I feel personally it's been easier to maintain professional networks than some of the more specific, one-to-one type relationships.
Also, think about your past clients, right? Which is, of course, one of the top two
84% or whatever.
Yeah. Start to think about what, do they work for any large employers? Or do you have any small business owners that,
Well, yeah, imagine if you just closed a loan for your LOs for a local plumber, and you happen to get another client who needs plumbing, and you can connect the dots.
Yep.
Who's going to want to refer you a deal? Probably that plumber. That you referred a deal to.
And my husband owns a small glass company, and it really got me thinking. For sure, if somebody was loyal and like referring someone, if it was a loan officer or a realtor, I'm going to tell everybody about that loan officer or realtor. You're helping the small business, and you never know what their spouse does, right? Mm-hmm. Like you could have a small business owner that doesn't mean the spouse isn't with a large company or very involved in other groups. So I think just looking at everybody and how do you expand that. But for sure, think about your past clients. Think about what they do. You're involved close up and personal with their life when you're going through that transaction. Do they have kids that are in sports, right? Yeah. The booster clubs, supporting the clients. Maybe your kid doesn't go to that school, but it's a connection through that client. So as we've talked about these different referral sources, think about your clients. Think about your current clients. Think about your past clients, because it's a great opportunity to, you've already built some level of trust. Obviously, they did. Well,
your past clients are always your best, right?
Yes.
I mean, when my dad, years ago, my dad sold real estate and I did loans, and we would go door to door. And I tell you, we're pretty awesome at closing a deal. We weren't real good at follow-up. And I remember driving around the neighborhood being like, I can't believe the Smiths listed with so-and-so.
Yeah.
And then we'd be like, hey, Dad, when's the last time you talked about the day we handed them the keys, right?
Yeah.
So a little reminder at the beginning of the year, none of us are perfect. I mean, if you are, you're probably not listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
But just remind yourselves how important it is just to follow up with your clients.
Oh, yeah.
Because if not, somebody else will.
Yeah. So I actually have a stat on that, which is pretty alarming. So I think it's HomeBot. Again, there's a ticker, right? Like if I'm wrong, but I believe it was HomeBot put out a stat, and they said 71% of borrowers forget their loan officer's name 13 months after the transaction closes. That's alarming, right?
So 12 months minimum, guys. Don't get
by
the
13th, they're like, who are you? Keep who?
Yeah.
But it's amazing, though, when you think about that. But the more you're kind of entrenched in bringing value and bringing help to somebody, and I think about, when someone gets into their first home and, the average money that they spend just on repairs, or, oh, now we need to change the windows, or now we need a plumber, the roof, whatever that is. And if you have some local professionals, a few contractors that you can refer out, that's a big help to somebody, especially if they're in a new area. It's a big deal.
The other thing is maybe just wear your real estate or loan shirt to Home Depot on the weekends.
That's a great idea.
Catch them. I spent plenty of time at Home Depot running into people. New networking source.
Yeah.
So let's see. What else did I not want to miss today? So far, I love what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we're discussing a little bit about the beneficial partnerships. And one of the things too is about nurturing the relationship. So we say, okay, well, when should I reach out to these people? We talked briefly, maybe once a month. Do you have any tips or guidance on frequency with these other types of referral partners?
Yeah, I think it depends on how, are you somebody providing education? Are you, I think it's going to be different for each type of business, and you want to be authentic, but consistency, I think we both know as salespeople, and you said it, I mean, consistency is one of the hardest things I think for most salespeople. We all know what we're supposed to do, and you might be good at it, but then we just fall by the wayside, and you get back into
this deal you wouldn't believe. I got to take this call right now. This deal is falling apart.
It's
this
what's
or that.
What's next? So staying consistent, but I think that's the great thing with some of the groups that we did mention, because it will be a little bit laid out for you, right? You have a plan. So if it's HR, the financial planners, or the family law professionals, it's going to be kind of laid out because you're bringing something to the table. You're bringing some education. And so you're probably going to have a normal cadence, and it's not going to be kind of flying by the seat of your pants.
I think it's great. So like being involved with CAMP for years, right? The California Association of Mortgage Professionals, shout out, great organization here in California.
El Presidente?
Used to be. Past El Presidente.
Past El Presidente.
But here's the thing. Our group for the San Bernardino chapter would basically set out a plan for the year. So we've got 12 months. What can we do? And you want to do this typically in November, right? What can we do once a month for the next year? Right. And if that calendar is done before the year starts, wonderful. Yep. You don't have to think about it. It's like this month, this is what I'm doing with this organization.
Set it and forget it.
Correct. And I think it was Gary Vee that I heard saying something the other day, just before New Year's. He said, well, what do you think of New Year's resolutions? He said, well, I think New Year's resolutions are great if today is New Year's. He said, but if today is December 28th, and I see December 28th resolutions are the most important. So to put that in perspective, today, January 13th, maybe your January 13th resolution, right, is to build a calendar. Don't wait for some magical day. Right. I think that's a good takeaway. Is it doesn't matter what day it is. If you make the plan today, hey, I should have lost weight. I didn't start my diet on the first. I guess I'll just wait till next year. Right. Today's a pretty good day. Although we are going to go have danger dogs after this.
I'm scared.
Danger Mountain hot dogs. One of our 4 favorite mortgage meats. But so have a plan, have a calendar. And the thing is, a lot of the trade organizations we did discuss, they already have a calendar.
Right.
So just plug in. And the other part of that, I would say, is get involved with the organization. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm a member of this trade organization. And that's a good thing. It's good to support your industry. I think it's even more important if you can get involved. Yeah. Can you get into a leadership role there? Can you really get to know and make a difference? Because I think that's where people will see it even more so.
They even have like Toastmasters, right? People who get together. I mean, and that's a lot of different people you're going to meet and stuff like that as well.
Yeah,
so,
all walks of life, right?
All walks of life, for sure.
I think that was really our goal today, is to think, we all know of the loan officer realtor partnership. It's been the number one thing. I think you get your NMLS and they tell you, okay, here's the realtor, which is like the stork carrying the baby. That's where you got to go. But I think we can help each other by expanding that a little bit, because I'll tell you what, if I'm a realtor and I'm getting 10 loan officers asking me for my business, I'd love to help you. I only have 10 deals this year. So you could each have one. I mean, that would be great. Right. But what if you could refer them a deal back? Well, you probably just moved yourself up the list. Yep. Right? Because if you happen to know a plumber who helps somebody else who needs to buy a house and you're doing the loan, you refer that back. I think the reciprocation, consistency and reciprocation would be my kind of 2 takeaways on it. Yep. What we do in our business, we help each other.
Absolutely.
And that to me is one of the keys. So be present, be available to them. Yep. Don't just take, right? Don't take from the horn of plenty, right? What can you give back? And I think that's really the goal today. Yeah,
I think so.
With that, Samantha, how can someone get a hold of you if they have questions?
So Samantha _Steen at MGIC.com. I don't know if you'll have my contact information somewhere. Get a hold of Keith. He'll get a hold of me. MGIC.com is our website. A ton of resources. So even on the strategies that we spoke about, we have a ton of content to help you get out there and actually not have to reinvent the wheel, to provide some of that education even. So there's a lot of resources, but certainly reach out to Keith. We partner together a lot. But yeah, we don't want you, you're not starting from scratch, right? There's a lot of things to help you hit the ground running. So don't feel overwhelmed. I think that's the biggest thing, right? As salespeople are like, that's a great idea and that's a great idea. Grab one that really feels authentic to you, and make a point to do it. Like this quarter, this is what I'm going to tackle, and then you add from there, right?
Yeah, I think that sounds perfect. Well, once again, thank you, Samantha, for joining us at Mortgage Meet.
Yes. I thought you were going to give me knuckles.
Oh, hey, well, no, we can knuckle. Again, thanks for joining Marketing, Education, Activity, and Tips from Original and Originators. Stay tuned. We got a lot of good stuff coming up this year. We're excited. 2025.
Woo!